Hey guys, and welcome back to this video. Now in this particular video we are going to be talking about the forms. Okay, now how the forms are actually working and how we can use it and how we can implement those things, we will be talking about in this video. Okay, so let's get started. Now inside the form, you can consider as whenever you are going on to another website, you will maybe see the sign in page, sign up page, and there are a couple of things which where you are putting your data. Okay, let's say you are going to put your EBC form or another scholarship form. So you need to put your all the detail like name, address, email address, mobile numbers and all this field. So these are using the forms. Okay, whenever you click on the submit button, all the fields are going to be empty, right? And that's the power of forms. And actually you can create a form using HTML. Okay, that's the cool thing about it. All right, let's get started. So whatever this tags for that particular form, okay, it's a form, but you may see that inside your Visual Studio Code, you may see that the get and post. So these are the actions for the forms, but we are not talking about that right now. Just press the form and this delete action bar. We are talking about it some of more minutes we need to that. But inside the forms, what we can pass, you may be seeing that, hey, there is a name property, and then after that the text box is there so that we can just put our data inside it, right? So to getting that data we need an input, and to showcase that name it is called as a label. Okay, so first I will say label, sorry, I think okay, label. And what exactly the for is, okay, I'll just ignore the for right now and just say name. And how we can accept that name? Okay, we know that the name is defined here and we are accepting the name, but where we can accept it, right? So we need an input there. So input, and basically input is type text, and you may see that input is not closed. Okay, that's weird, right? So input is a self-closing tag. As I said at the second video of HTML, I will say that there are some couple of tags which are self-closed, and the one is input. Okay, there are a couple of tags, but the first, which is input, okay, it is closing itself. We don't need to close the input. Okay, and if you try to close the input and pass something property there, you can't. Okay, let's just say input, and you maybe see that, hey, let's try to do that. And this, well, let me just go on to this page, and you can see it's going after the input. Okay, I hope you got the point. So this is our input, and we can just put it as a self-closed so that we will able to understand it in a more better way. Okay, so this is an input tag, and what kind of property that input can get. Okay, so to understand those things, let me just go and say that the name, let's press the name of a Sanket. That's cool, right? We can just pass our data here, and that's cool, right? But what I will pass are gibberish things. Okay, this is not a name because it's too much big, right? And if you're going like 50 to 100 words, it is not a valid name. So how are we going to validate a name? So we need to use some built-in properties for the input. So whatever the built-in property is, like minimum and maximum. So okay, so min length will be let's say 6, and max length will be, we can pass a 50. Okay, for the testing we can going for let's say 8. Save it, go for it. So you can see I'm just trying to type something, but it's not going to the next. That's the amazing power of this input features. Okay, but okay, that's completely fine that if someone name has bigger than the 50 and all that, we can accept it. But we know that the name is there, and what we need to pass here, how can we say that name inside this so that we can able to understand what exactly we need to pass in here? So in that case, what we can do, we can use a placeholder. Now what exactly the placeholder does, it just put a text or you can say a off text inside your input body. Okay, now let's say I can say name, save it. You can see this is the name, but it is not a text. If you click there, you can just pass anything. Okay, that's okay, that's fine, right? But we know that what exactly the input is in that particular input box is going for, right? Its name, its description, or any other thing. So we know that right now. Okay, Now another thing for that, it is like some case in autocomplete and all this stuffs. So we can go for autocomplete, and autocomplete is maybe off so that you can't be able to auto it. Okay, let's say um let's go for the autocomplete. Just forget about it right now. We are going to create first form. Okay, name, let's say I want to create control C, and I want to create for, let's say, email. Okay, email, and we can just change the type of it as well. We can just pass email there, then placeholder is for email, and then what we can do, we can go for password as well. So let's go for password, and as always I have a type for password as well. Okay, if you are getting a mobile number, it's completely fine, you can get that mobile number too. Save it and just say number, and here we can just pass mobile number. Okay, and in the placeholder you can say mobile, and here I will pass, save it. Okay, it's completely fine that we are getting the data, and let's say we are pushing the data like Sanket and mobile number, let's say gibberish word of numeric values, and push in email as this, password is as this. But how can we validate it? Or that email is totally it's not good email, it's a bad email, right? It's not email. Okay, so how we can send the data? We need a button for that, right? So submit button. So what I can do, if I just shift it here inside the form tag, we can pass button, and as always we need to set the type for it. Inside a form we are able to set a type for that particular button, which is submit. And for that submit button we can go for submit, save it, and once we are going to this way, let's say Sanket, and let's say a mobile number of something gibberish, and if I just pass the email, wrong email, and pass the password and click on submit, you can see we got an error. Please include @ in email address. Okay, that's great, right? It's validating, and that's cool. It's validating itself, so it's cool, right? So let's go for whatever gibberish.com, and if I just click on submit, and if I click on F11, we can see our data is gone, and that's cool, right? That's completely cool. Okay, that's great. That's okay that you can go for it and your data is going on. That's completely fine. But this is not the only data that we get, right? We have another fields as well. We don't have just email and password. We have a radio button too. And now exactly what is radio button? Hey, what is radio button? What you are talking about? You can consider it as a gender. Okay, we have two options, like if you're male, if you're female, and that's it. You are putting one thing at the same time. And another thing, which is a drop down menu, where you will select that which subject you are going for, or which are your specialty. It's maybe your programming language like Python, C++, Java, JavaScript, and any other thing. So you can do that as well. So for that, what we can do, let's first understand the radio button. Okay, so here what I will do, I will put input tag, which is a type of radio. Okay, that's great. And the name of a radio is that, let's say, gender. Great, right? But as always, we need to pass value as well. So value will be male. And another way we can go for like input type radio, and the name will be gender. Now look at this point. We need to pass the both name and the same, because we are creating a radio button which only choose either this or either this. Okay, so you need to remember it. So I will put gender and put the value of female. Okay, close it, save it. Let's go back to here, and if I just go on F11 mode, okay, I can't be able to see it, but you can see it's pick up either this or either this. And unfortunately what I did, I just put this, so Control X, and I need to put after the password Control V, and you can see either this. But how we can judge that it's a male or it's a female, right? So there you can use a label. So let's copy the label, put it here and say, let's say male, and paste another label here and say female. Okay, save it, go back. You can see now male or female. That's all right? Either this or either this. Now let's go. Let's go with drop down. Now we are able to understand how this input is working. Now what exactly the drop down is? Let's say you wanted to pick an item. Okay, you wanted to pick a particular favorite subject in that case. So how are you gonna pick a one particular subject for yourself? So for that, we are creating our drop down section. So there will be the tag will be different, and the tag is select. This select tag has its own name, has its own ID. Let's say subjects, and IDs also I'm going for subject. Now understand it. IDs are unique, not a different from each other. It is a unique, or it not similar with each other. Okay, it's a different from other things. Okay, now inside the select, what we can do, we can pass an option. So I will go for option, and whatever the option will be, let's say C++, and I will say C++. Okay, we can copy the options as multiple times as we want. Copy it and paste it here, paste it here, and let's say C++, and then I will say command D, so that I can put a next element as well. Command D, Java, I will say command D as well, and I can say Python, or command D as well, and I can say JavaScript. Okay, that's completely fine. Let's save it. Let's see how exactly working. Okay, you can see C++ is by default, but I want that Java is by default. So how are we going to do that? How are we going to do that? So you have a property called as select. So we can say selected and save it. You can see Java is going to be by default option, and that's amazing, right? What if you want an empty? I don't want any option. So I can do Control C, Control V, and I will put value nothing, and I will say selected. But after you click on that, you need to delete this selected. Okay, save it, and you can see this is an empty. This is an empty value, right? So you can just do changes as we want it. You can do anything. You just need to try this out. It's a form actually, and it's amazing to be working on. Okay, now let's understand one more topic, one more tag, which is a text area. Okay, so this is a text area where you can pass name, ID, column, rows, how much big you wanted to go for. Okay, let's say feedback, and here you can just say feedback, whatever the columns and row will be. It's just defining that. Save it. Let's go. Okay, it's a big and gigantic text area to write our text. If I put in gibberish words, and you can okay, it's totally amazing, right? It's not too much heavy to understand. It's just an easy part. Okay, now what I will do, I will just try to understand this by the help of columns. Okay, I'm going for 20, and as a row I want to go for, let's say, 30, and save it. You will see oh, it's like rows are implemented, but I don't want that much amount of space. I just wanted to go for like 10. Okay, that's amazing, right? That's super cool. Okay, did you get my point, that how exactly these things are working? Okay, you just need to try by yourself. Also try by yourself. Calls for columns, rows for rows. So you get the point, right? How these things are working. We are now implemented all the parts which is inside the form element. Okay, so you just need to not remember it, you just need to understand how the things are working, what exactly the label does, what exactly the input does, what are the types for the inputs, and what are the select option does, select is does, option is does, and text area and button, all those things. Just the basic tags. Okay, just the basic tag. It's not too much heavy to understand. It's just about the beginning. Okay, and that's it all. But you know what, right now I think that this is a gibberish. This is totally gibberish. It's not like one by one, or just putting as much as we wanted to put. It needs to be structured, right? It needs to be structured as we want. And for that, we can use tables, and the tables that we are going to be learning in next video. So I hope this concept is clear for you so that we can move on to the tables. Okay, let's get started. Let's see in the next.